Every time I came back from a business trip, I found my wife changing the bed sheets. At first, it felt harmless. Then, curiosity turned into doubt, and what I later saw on the hidden camera left me completely frozen. The bedroom door opened on my phone screen at 10:47 p.m. I was sitting in a Motel 6, 20 minutes from my house, staring at live footage from a camera I'd hidden in our bedroom bookshelf 3 days earlier. My wife, Cassidy, walked into frame, carrying something against her chest. At first, I thought it was a pillow. Then, she laid it on the bed, and I saw what it really was. My wedding shirt, the faded blue Oxford I'd worn under my suit jacket 11 years ago, the one she'd kept folded in her dresser drawer like some kind of sacred relic. My stomach dropped. She climbed onto the bed slowly, carefully like her body hurt, and pulled the shirt close to her face. Then she started crying. Not quiet tears, not gentle sadness, violent body-shaking sobs that made her shoulders convulse. I turned the volume up on my phone, hands trembling so badly I almost dropped it. "I miss you," she whispered to the empty room, to the shirt. "To me, I missed you again today." Her voice cracked like something breaking. "I'm so sorry I couldn't keep our baby safe. I know you don't want to talk about it. I know you don't want to remember, but I think about them every single day." The phone nearly slipped from my hands. Baby. Our baby. The pregnancy we'd lost 3 years ago at 14 weeks. The miscarriage that had torn something fundamental out of our marriage and left a wound neither of us knew how to heal. I was supposed to protect them. Cassidy sobbed into my shirt, and I failed. I failed you both. I know that's why you take every business trip now, because you can't stand to be in this house with me. I couldn't breathe. The motel room felt like it was closing in. "Please don't hate me anymore," she whispered. "Please, I'm so tired of being alone." I watched her cry for another 20 minutes, clutching that shirt like it was the only thing keeping her anchored to this world. And I realized with horrible, crushing clarity what I'd done. The dirty sheets she kept washing weren't evidence of betrayal. They were soaked with her tears. Every time I left for a business trip, my wife cried herself to sleep, holding my shirt, apologizing to a ghost, carrying guilt that was never hers to carry. And I'd suspected her, set up a camera to catch her cheating. While she was breaking apart alone, I was hunting for proof of lies that didn't exist. The pattern started 6 months ago, though I'd been too blind to see it for what it really was. I'd come home from a 4-day trip to Boston, technology conference, standard corporate networking, the usual exhausting routine, and found Cassidy in our bedroom stripping the sheets. "Hey," I said, dropping my suitcase by the door. "You doing laundry?" She glanced up, startled, like she hadn't heard me come in. "Oh, yeah, just the sheets needed washing. They look fine to me." They weren't. Her voice was quiet, distant. "Trust me, I didn't think much of it." Cassidy had always been particular about cleanliness. It was one of the things I'd loved about her when we first met. Her apartment was always organized, her car always spotless, everything in its proper place. So I shrugged it off. But then it happened again after my trip to Seattle, and again after Denver, and again after Chicago. Every single time I came home from a business trip, didn't matter if it was 3 days or 7, Cassidy was washing the sheets, stripping the bed like someone had been sleeping there, scrubbing them in hot water with extra detergent. The bed always looked pristine when I left. Not a wrinkle, not a stain, just the way I'd made it that morning before heading to the airport. So why was she washing them like they were filthy? The question wormed into my brain and wouldn't leave. I started paying attention, making mental notes. Trip to Portland, came home to fresh sheets. Trip to Austin, came home to the washing machine running. Trip to Phoenix, came home to Cassidy folding clean linens, her eyes red and puffy like she'd been crying. "Are you okay?" I asked that time. "Fine," she said quickly. Too quickly. "Just allergies." It was February. Nobody had allergies in February. We'd been married for 11 years, together for 13. I'd met Cassidy at a coffee shop near Georgetown University, where she was finishing her master's in social work. I was 3 years into my job at a consulting firm, traveling constantly, burning myself out for a promotion I wasn't sure I even wanted. She was sitting alone reading a book about trauma therapy when I accidentally knocked her coffee over, reaching for the sugar. "I'm so sorry," I'd said, grabbing napkins. "I'll buy you another one. Large, venti, whatever size you had." She'd laughed, a genuine warm laugh that made something in my chest unlock. "It's fine. I needed a break from Judith Herman." Anyway, we talked for 2 hours. She told me about her work with foster kids. I told her about my work optimizing supply chains for Fortune 500 companies. "That sounds incredibly boring," she'd said, smiling to soften it. "It is, but it pays well. Is that enough?" No one had ever asked me that before. I married her 18 months later. For the first 8 years, we were happy. Really, genuinely happy. She built a thriving private practice working with traumatized children. I made partner at my firm. We bought a house in Arlington with a backyard big enough for the kids we both wanted. Then we got pregnant, and then at 14 weeks, we lost the baby. The doctor, Dr. Rachel Peaton, 30 years in obstetrics, kind eyes and a gentle voice, had explained it carefully. There was a chromosomal abnormality. Nothing you did wrong, nothing you could have prevented. Sometimes these things just happen. Cassidy had nodded silently, tears streaming down her face. I'd held her hand and felt completely numb. The grief came later in waves at random moments. I'd be sitting in a meeting and suddenly remember the ultrasound photo we'd hidden in my wallet. I'd be driving home and see a pregnant woman and feel something crack inside my chest, but I didn't talk about it, didn't know how to talk about it. about it. So I worked instead. Took every business trip my boss offered. Volunteered for the projects nobody else wanted. Stayed busy enough that I didn't have time to think. Cassidy tried to talk about it once 3 months after the miscarriage. I think we should see a therapist, she'd said over dinner. Someone who specializes in pregnancy loss. I'm fine, I'd said automatically. Liam, you're not fine. Neither of us are fine. I just need time. It's been 3 months and I need more time. She'd gone quiet after that. Stopped bringing it up. Stopped trying to make me talk about something I wasn't ready to discuss. And I told myself that was fine, that we were handling it, that time would heal everything. I was wrong. The suspicion started small. A tiny poisonous seed planted by coincidence and watered by doubt. I'd come home from Nashville at 11 p.m. on a Thursday. The house was dark. Cassidy was already asleep. I went to the bathroom to brush my teeth and noticed something on the counter. A men's razor, not mine. A different brand. Blue handle instead of my usual black. My stomach tightened. Cass, I said, walking into the bedroom. Whose razor is in the bathroom? She stirred, half asleep. What? The blue razor on the counter. Oh, she blinked, confused. That's yours. I bought it last week when I was at Target. Your old one was getting dull. You bought me a razor. Yeah? Is that weird? No, I just didn't know. You were gone. I was trying to be helpful. She rolled over and went back to sleep. I stood there in the dark, feeling stupid for asking. But the seed had been planted. The next trip, San Francisco, 6 days. I came home and found a coffee mug in the sink I didn't recognize. Dark blue ceramic. Definitely not from our set. Where'd this come from? I asked Cassidy. I bought it at Home Goods. Why? Just curious. Liam, are you okay? You seem tense. I'm fine. Just tired. But I wasn't fine. I was starting to notice things. The way Cassid's phone was always face down on the counter. The way she showered immediately when I got home, like she was washing something off. The way she'd started going to bed earlier, 9 p.m., 8:30 p.m., sometimes even 8 p.m., and always the sheets were being washed. I tried to rationalize it, told myself I was being paranoid. That grief was making me see patterns that weren't there, but the thoughts wouldn't stop. Someone else in our bed, someone else in our house, someone else in my place while I was traveling for work. The idea made me physically sick. I didn't plan to set up a camera, not consciously, but I was downtown for a client meeting when I passed a security store. One of those shops that sells surveillance equipment to paranoid people. I walked in before I could talk myself out of it. The clerk was a middle-aged guy with a goatee and a bored expression. Help you? Hidden camera? I said quietly. Something small, discreet. He didn't even blink. Probably got requests like this every day. How hidden we talking? Very. He showed me options. Cameras disguised as USB chargers, smoke detectors, picture frames. I chose one that looked like a phone charging block. You'd never notice it unless you were looking for it. Motion activated, the clerk explained. Streams directly to your phone. Wi-Fi enabled. Battery lasts about 5 days on standby. Perfect. I paid cash. $180. Walked out feeling like a criminal. That night, I waited until Cassidy was in the shower and placed the camera on our bedroom bookshelf, angled perfectly toward the bed, plugged into an outlet so it looked like just another charger. Then I tested it on my phone. Clear video, good audio, complete view of the room. I felt sick doing it. Felt like I was violating something sacred. But the alternative, not knowing, living with suspicion, felt worse. 3 days later, I told Cassidy I had a 10-day trip to Chicago. 10 days? She looked surprised. That's longer than usual. Big client, lots of meetings. You know how it is. I know. She hugged me at the door, her body small and warm against mine. Be safe. Call me when you land. I will. I drove to the airport, checked in, went through security. Then I turned around, walked back to my car, and drove to the Motel 6 I'd booked under a fake name, room 217. $23 a night, dingy carpet, and a bathroom that smelled like industrial cleaner, but it had Wi-Fi. I opened the camera app on my phone and watched our empty bedroom. The first night, nothing happened. Cassidy came home from work at 6:15 p.m., made herself dinner, looked like pasta from the microwave, ate alone at the kitchen counter while watching something on her laptop. At 9:00 p.m., she went to the bedroom, changed into pajamas, climbed into bed with a book, read for maybe 20 minutes, then turned off the light and went to sleep alone. I sat in that motel room feeling simultaneously relieved and guilty. What had I expected to see? Some stranger climbing into my bed? The second night was the same. Work, dinner, bed, nothing suspicious, nothing wrong. By the third night, I was starting to think I'd made a terrible mistake, that I was losing my mind, that grief and stress had turned me into someone I didn't recognize, someone who spied on his own wife. I almost deleted the app, almost went home and confessed everything. Then at 10:47 p.m., the bedroom door opened and everything I thought I knew shattered. Cassidy walked in carrying my wedding shirt pressed against her chest like something precious, something fragile. She laid it carefully on the bed, her side, not mine, and climbed up beside it. Then she pulled the shirt to her face and started crying. The sound was horrible, raw, the kind of grief that comes from somewhere so deep you didn't know it existed until it's clawing its way out. I turned the volume up, my hands shaking so badly the phone almost fell. "I miss you," she whispered. "God, I miss you so much." She was talking to the shirt, to me, to the ghost of who I used to be before business trips became an escape and silence became a wall. "I'm so sorry," she sobbed. "I'm so sorry I couldn't keep our baby safe. I know you don't talk about it because it hurts too much. I know you don't want to be reminded, but I can't stop thinking about them." Her voice cracked. "I was supposed to protect them and I failed. I failed you. I know that's why you leave all the time, because you can't stand to look at me and remember what I couldn't do." My throat closed. I couldn't breathe, couldn't move. "Please don't hate me anymore," she whispered into the fabric. "Please come back. I'm so tired of being alone. I'm so tired of pretending I'm okay when you call from airports and hotels and conferences. I'm so tired of washing these sheets every time you leave because I cry so hard I soak them through. The sheets, the washing, the pattern I'd misread so completely it made me want to be sick." She wasn't hiding evidence of betrayal. She was hiding evidence of grief. My grief, her grief, the grief we'd never shared because I'd been too cowardly to face it. "I sleep in your shirt because it still smells like you," Cassidy continued, her voice barely audible now, like the you from before. "Before we lost them, before you started leaving all the time, before I became someone you couldn't stand to be around." She curled around the shirt, her whole body shaking. "I know you're never coming back. Not really. I know I lost you when we lost the baby, but I pretend when you're home. I pretend everything's fine, because if I don't pretend, if I let you see how broken I am, you'll leave for good." I sat in that motel room and felt my chest split open. All this time I'd thought I was protecting myself by staying busy, by taking every business trip, by avoiding the house that reminded me of what we'd lost. But I wasn't protecting myself. I was destroying her. Every trip I took, every excuse I made, every conversation I deflected. I was telling Cassidy that she wasn't worth staying for, that her grief wasn't worth witnessing, that she was alone in this, and she'd believed it. Believed it so completely that she'd started sleeping with my shirt to remember what it felt like to be held. I grabbed my keys and left the motel room. The drive home was a blur. Midnight, empty roads, tears I'd been holding back for 3 years finally breaking free. I didn't care that it was late. Didn't care that I was supposed to be in Chicago. Didn't care about anything except getting to my wife before she spent another night crying alone. The house was dark when I pulled into the driveway. I walked inside quietly, my heart pounding so hard I could hear it in my ears. The bedroom door was closed. I opened it slowly. Cassidy was asleep on the bed, curled on her side, my wedding shirt still clutched in her arms. Her face was swollen and red, tear-stained, exhausted. She looked small, broken, beautiful. I climbed into bed beside her as carefully as I could, trying not to wake her, but the bed shifted and her eyes opened. "Liam?" Her voice was confused, disoriented. "What? You're supposed to be in Chicago." "I saw the camera," I said quietly. Her entire body went rigid. "What camera?" "The one I hid in the bookshelf because I thought my voice cracked, because I thought you were cheating on me." Horror flooded her face. She tried to pull away, shame and panic written across every feature, but I held her tighter. I watched the footage. I whispered, "I saw you crying. I heard what you said." She started sobbing again, harder than before. "I'm sorry." She choked out, "I'm so sorry I couldn't save our baby. I'm sorry I'm not strong enough. I'm sorry." "Stop." I pulled her face to mine, forcing her to look at me. "Stop apologizing. You didn't fail. You didn't do anything wrong. Then why did you leave?" The words came out like something she'd been holding inside for years. "Why did you take every trip? Why did you stop touching me? Why did you stop talking to me?" "Because I was scared," I admitted. "Because I didn't know how to grieve without falling apart. And I thought if I fell apart, I wouldn't be able to hold you together." "I didn't need you to hold me together," she whispered. "I needed you to fall apart with me." The truth of it hit me like a wave. "I know," I said. "I know, and I'm so sorry. I left you alone with this. I made you think I blamed you. I made you cry yourself to sleep holding my shirt because I was too much of a coward to stay and cry with you." She looked at me with red, swollen eyes. "You don't hate me." "Hate you?" The words came out broken. "Cassidy, I love you. I've always loved you. I'm just so sorry I made you doubt that." She collapsed into me and we cried together. Really together for the first time since we'd lost the baby. No distance, no business trips, no pretending we were fine. Just two people who'd been breaking apart separately, finally admitting they needed each other. The next morning I called my boss. "Richard, it's Liam. I need to take a leave of absence." Silence on the other end. "For how long? 3 months? Maybe longer? Family emergency." "Liam, we've got the Chicago project. I'm not going to Chicago. I'm not going anywhere. My wife needs me and I need to be here." More silence then. "Is everything okay?" "No," I said honestly, "but it will be." I hung up and went back to the bedroom where Cassidy was sitting up in bed, my shirt still clutched in her hands. "I called a therapist," she said quietly. "Dr. Jennifer Wu. She specializes in pregnancy loss. I found her 3 years ago, but never made an appointment because you said you didn't want to go." "I was wrong," I said. "When can we see her?" Cassidy blinked. "We? You think I'm letting you do this alone again? Not a chance." She started crying, but this time it wasn't grief. It was relief. Dr. Jennifer Wu's office was in a renovated townhouse in Alexandria. Soft lighting, comfortable chairs, the kind of space designed to make trauma feel less overwhelming. She was in her mid-50s, with kind eyes and a calm presence that reminded me of the obstetrics doctor who delivered the news about our baby. "Thank you for coming," she said as we sat down. "I know this is difficult. We should have come 3 years ago," I said. Dr. Wu nodded. "Many couples struggle with the timing. Grief doesn't follow a schedule." The first session was brutal. Dr. Wu asked us to talk about the miscarriage, what we remembered, what we felt. Cassidy spoke first, told the story, sorry. I tried so hard to forget. The cramping that started at work, the bleeding that wouldn't stop, the emergency room visit at 2 a.m. They did an ultrasound, she said, her voice shaking, and there was no heartbeat. The doctor said it probably happened a few days earlier, that the baby had stopped developing, but my body hadn't realized it yet. I reached for her hand. She squeezed it so hard it hurt. They gave me 2 options, Cassidy continued. Surgery or medication to help my body complete the miscarriage naturally. I chose the medication because I thought it would be easier, less invasive. Her voice broke. It wasn't easier. It was horrible. I bled for days, cramped so badly. I couldn't stand. And the whole time I kept thinking, this is my fault. I did something wrong. I didn't take enough vitamins. I worked too many hours. I stressed too much. You didn't do anything wrong, Dr. Wu said gently. Medical research is very clear on this. Most early pregnancy losses are caused by chromosomal abnormalities, random genetic events. Nothing you did or didn't do would have changed the outcome, but it feels like my fault, Cassidy whispered. I know that's what we're going to work on. Dr. Wu turned to me. Liam, what do you remember about that time? I'd never said this out loud, never admitted it to anyone, including myself. I remember feeling helpless, I said quietly. I remember holding Cassidy in the emergency room and not knowing what to say, not knowing how to fix it. I'm good at fixing things. It's what I do for work, but I couldn't fix this. So, what did you do instead? I left. Not physically at first, but emotionally. I went back to work 3 days after the miscarriage. Took every business trip, worked 80-hour weeks because if I was working, I didn't have to think about what we'd lost. And Cassidy was home alone, Dr. Wu said. Not accusing, just stating fact. Yes. Did you talk about the baby? No, I couldn't. It hurt too much. So Cassidy carried that grief alone. I looked at my wife. Yes. Cassidy was crying again, but she didn't pull away. Here's what I want you both to understand, Dr. Wu said. Grief is not a problem to be solved. It's not something you fix or get over or move past. It's something you carry, and the only way to carry it without being crushed is to carry it together. How do we do that? I asked. By talking, by being honest, by letting each other see the ugly, broken parts instead of pretending you're fine. She looked at both of us. You've spent 3 years trying to protect each other from pain, but you can't protect each other from something you're both already feeling. All you can do is feel it together. We saw Dr. Wu twice a week for the next 3 months. Some sessions were quiet, reflective, processing things we'd buried for years. Other sessions were raw, ugly, full of anger and hurt, and words we'd been too scared to say. I resented you, Cassidy admitted in week 4. Every time you left for a business trip, I resented you for being able to escape, for being able to pretend everything was normal. I resented you too, I said, for wanting to talk about it, for not being able to just move on. You can't move on from losing a child, Liam. I know that now. Dr. Wu helped us create rituals, small ways to honor what we'd lost without letting it consume us. We planted a tree in our backyard, a Japanese maple that would bloom every spring. We set aside the second Friday of every month to talk about the baby, about what we were feeling, about what we missed. We stopped pretending, and slowly, so slowly I almost didn't notice at first, we started healing. 6 months after that night in the motel, Cassidy asked if we could try again. Try again, I repeated. For a baby, I know it's scary. I know there's no guarantee, but I don't want to let fear stop us from having the family we wanted. I thought about it for a long time, thought about the pain of losing something you'd already started to love, the fear of going through it again, but I also thought about Cassidy sleeping alone with my shirt, crying herself sick while I ran away, and I knew I never wanted to run again. Okay, I said, let's try. We got pregnant 4 months later. This time we were prepared. We had Dr. Wu. We had each other. We had tools for handling fear and grief if it came again. The first trimester was terrifying. Every cramp sent Cassidy into a panic. Every doctor's appointment felt like waiting for bad news. But we made it to 12 weeks, then 14, then 20. The ultrasound at 20 weeks showed a healthy baby girl moving and kicking and completely oblivious to how desperately we wanted her. She's perfect, the technician said. Strong heartbeat. All measurements normal, Cassidy cried. So did I. Our daughter was born on a Tuesday in March at 3:47 a.m. 7 lb 11 Oz. Dark hair, perfect. We named her Hope. Not subtle, not creative, but true. Because that's what she was, what she represented. The thing we'd almost given up on. The first night home from the hospital, I found Cassidy standing in the nursery at 2 a.m., holding Hope and crying quietly. Hey, I said softly. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong, she whispered. I'm just so grateful she's here. So grateful we didn't give up. I wrapped my arms around both of them. We almost did give up, I said. I almost lost you because I was too scared to stay. But you came back because I saw what I was doing to you, what I was doing to us. She looked up at me. Do you ever think about the first baby? Every day. Me too. We stood there in the dark, holding our daughter, acknowledging the child we'd lost without letting it steal the joy of the child we'd gained. I'm never leaving again, I said. Not like before. No more running away. I know. How do you know? She smiled, tired and real. Because you finally stopped washing the sheets. I laughed. Actually laughed. I never did wash them, I said. That was all you. I know, but you do now. When I'm too tired, when Hope keeps us up all night, you strip the bed and wash the sheets and remake them without being asked. That's just being a decent husband. No, she said. That's being present 100%. That's staying. That's what I needed all along.